guys, it's Rose, and today I wanted to talk about my reading resolutions for 2015. Obviously, I'm a little bit late. However, these resolutions are for the whole year, so I don't feel too bad about filming this video just a day or two late. Resolution number 1. This is the most important one. This is a huge goal for my year. This isn't just a reading resolution. This is like a life resolution. This is a huge one for me, and that is to finish my friggin' book. I started writing this book. I started playing with the idea several years ago. I started writing it properly for NaNoWriMo in 2013, and since then I've been finishing, tinkering, editing, etc., and I really want to get it to the point that I am comfortable sending out query letters, trying to get myself an agent, trying to get myself published. So that is a huge goal for this year. I will be vlogging about it a little bit. I'm hoping, obviously, fingers crossed, that I will be able to get an agent and do some vlogging about the publishing process and share that journey with you guys. So that's the big hope. Otherwise, I really would just love to get it to a point that I feel that it's ready for other people to start looking at and start the next phase of editing on it. So that is my number 1 biggest resolution for the year. Number 2 is one that I think is a really common resolution. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you have this, and it is to read outside of my comfort zone. I do read some things that are classics or popular books because I think it's very important to be able to converse with people, to be that sort of well-read. Obviously, I also read certain books throughout school that I had to for my education. But other than that, I read 100% for pure, unadulterated pleasure, which means that I don't read a huge range of things. I like to stick to books with female protagonists, female voices, because I relate to them more easily. I love historical fiction, I love fantasy, and while I read a few things outside of that, that's kind of where I rest my butt in the reading world. And that's fantastic, and obviously reading for enjoyment is the number 1 reason to read, but I really think that it's time to start challenging myself and thinking outside of the box when it comes to choosing books and choosing authors and using my reading as a way to educate myself and push myself and expand my brain, as well as just to escape from the world for a little while into, you know, pretty girls in pretty dresses and castles and things. So I would like to read more of the genres that I don't touch a whole lot. 2 big ones that I want to go into are mystery novels. I think that could be a really fun thing to read, is mystery and crime, but I've never really got into it. Short stories is another one that I never really got into, and I feel like I'm really missing out on that. And I want to expand my contemporary fiction reading just to cover a wider range of subjects and cultures, and books that have come from a different point of view, books that are about only men, or come from a male perspective, or come from the perspective of someone who is transgender, or someone that has no gender, whether that's a person who doesn't identify with a gender, whether that's a spirit or an animal or another way that an author chooses to put a voice forward. I want to find different perspectives and different ways of reading those as well. And I think that'll be really fun, definitely interesting, definitely challenging. The one genre that I'm not going to be touching really is horror. I used to write for a horror movie review website, and it was really great at the time, but I kind of feel like now I'm done with that. It was an overload of horror and gore and blood and guts and really unpleasant things, and I'm kind of taking a break from that now. I am sticking with the happier side of life, I think, right now, and at some point I may come back to horror, but as it stands, it's not something that I'm really that interested in getting back into. Resolution number 3. This is actually to do with this. I obviously have just started this channel, and while I love reading and have been into books since I was a little girl, I don't really know that much about video editing, and as it stands, as you can probably tell, I am pointing the camera at my face, saying a bunch of things, and then cutting out all the mistakes and as many of the ums and ahs and icks as I possibly can, and that's all I really know how to do. So my next resolution is to learn to teach myself, to learn through tutorials and maybe some classes, how to do better video editing, how to get that little book cover that zooms in and sits over here so I don't have to hold up the book, how to get titles and words across the screen, how to get different effects, how to get a little video intro bit for the first few seconds of every video that introduces me, that just makes it all look a little more shiny and professional and engaging. So that is definitely a big thing for me. I really want to make these better for you to watch, and I hope that as the year goes on you will see these improving. Obviously, if you guys have any recommendations for channels or tutorials or websites or resources on how to do this, on how to do the things that booktubers most commonly do for video effects, then please, please, please comment and let me know. Give me your recommendations. Give me your advice. Give me your advice on editing software and on tools and all that kind of stuff, because I would love to hear from you. So thank you. Resolution number 4. This one is a little bit of a life resolution and a little bit of a reading resolution in one, and it is that I want to go back to reading more Spanish language books, which may seem a little bit random. The reason for that is twofold. One is that I do speak a little bit of Spanish. I have family in Colombia in South America, and I really, really love the Spanish language, and I want to improve my Spanish. And the easiest way for me to do that as someone who loves reading is to read books in Spanish. I actually used to own the Harry Potter books, or at least the first 4, because this was back when the series wasn't done yet. I used to own the first 4 in Spanish, and it was a really, really great way to get into the language. Other than just wanting to improve my Spanish is the fact that I love the Spanish language. I love reading Spanish language poetry and books, and I think that there's something to be gained, if possible, in reading a book in the original language that it was written. I think it gives you something that a translation just can't. And one of my favorite books of all time, which you can read the translation or you can read the original or you can watch the movie they made of it, is this one, and please excuse my accent right now. It is by Laura Esquivel, and it is Como agua para chocolate, which means like water for chocolate. And it is a fantastic book on food and cooking and romance and magic, and I absolutely love it, and I love reading it in Spanish. So I want to read some more books that way. I do actually have 2 already on my shelf that I have not read yet, so these are the 2 that I'm going to start with. The first one is a book that was written in Spanish, so it's an original language book by David Safier, or Safier. It's called Maldito Karma, and I actually don't know what it's about. It was a gift from one of my relatives in Colombia, and it's kind of like a blind date with a book on that one, but I do trust her judgment. So if she says I'll like it, I'm guessing I will. The next book is actually by a Colombian author, which is really, really cool for me because that is where my family lives in South America, and it is a very well-known book. I'm sure that many of you will have read it. It is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and it is El amor en los tiempos del cólera, which is obviously Love in the Time of Cholera, which has been translated into English, very well known, turned into a movie. I have never read the English version either, so I'm really excited to read this in Spanish, but the language is a lot harder than Harry Potter in Spanish, so this one may take me a while to get through. Resolution number 5 is again to do with this and to do with you guys, and it's that I want to be more involved in bookish communities, not just on YouTube and BookTube, but also on Goodreads, on Twitter, on Facebook, even possibly in real life. And that's because for me, reading's always been a very, very solitary pursuit. When I was growing up, I was the kid that didn't go out and play because I was staying home because I wanted to finish the book I was reading, which tells you pretty much all you need to know about me. And it's something I've always done on my own, and I love to share it more. I want to be more involved in knowing what books are coming out, and going to book signings, and going to events, and going to conventions about books, and going to readings, and being more involved with other people, and making this less of an introverted thing, and having other people that I can enjoy discussing books and discussing the great passion of my life with. So you're going to see me doing a lot more commenting, obviously making the videos, trying to interact more on social media and online. It's a very new thing for me because obviously when I was growing up, and then in high school, and even at the beginning of university, the internet was not what it is now. Social media didn't entirely exist until I was in university, other than a little bit of MySpace, and even then that wasn't huge. Facebook was created when I was in university. I was in university at the same time as Mr. Zuckerberg. So it's something that's very new for me, but I am really excited about getting more into that. I've joined a book group on Goodreads, which is hosted by a wonderful booktuber, Jessica, as Price is Wrong, and I will put a link to her channel down there in case you haven't heard of her, which I cannot believe that you would have found me and not her, but just in case, I will link to that below. And I'm really excited to get really involved and talk to people. I'm really excited about Goodreads in general. It's taken me a long time to get on that site, and now I'm there and seeing it as a social media thing. I'm really, really excited about it. And finally, I would say last but not least, but it is kind of the least of these resolutions, my 6th resolution is to do with being a little more picky about my bookshelves. And right now you can see, obviously, my bookshelf behind me. I have a couple others. I have a little bit of space left in my house to put up 1 or 2 more, but not a whole lot. And right now, if you came in and judged me on my bookcase, I would be a little embarrassed, because there are some books that are there that I really love and I'm proud of my interest in. There are a lot more that I've either been given or I've picked up at secondhand stores, library sales, or something like that that were cheap and I grabbed it for whatever reason, and it isn't really something that I feel passionately about. And I pick up a lot of books at the library. I don't have a huge book buying budget. So I want to make it a priority to allocate that little book budget that I have to supporting authors that I really love, to building up collections of certain series, certain authors, book sets, beautiful hardcover editions, rarer books, that kind of thing, so that the books on my shelves are not just random, here's whatever, but become a collection that I'm really, really proud of. And once I've done that, then I'm sure I will do a bookcase tour video. Right now, I don't really want to do that because I'm not totally confident with what my bookcase says about me, which is terrible. So that is it. 6 resolutions for 2015. Obviously, I have more. I'm one of those people that tends to make a lot of resolutions. Kind of like a shotgun approach, you know, I'll try to do 18 things, and if I do 2 of them, then I'll feel like I've achieved something, whereas if I just go for 1 and I fail, I'll feel like crap. So, all the resolutions. But those are mine that are specific to reading, to writing, to booktube, to this community and this kind of thing. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please, please, please comment, chat to me, interact with me. Remember that one about being more sociable? And I hope that whatever resolutions you might have for 2015, I wish you the absolute best of luck with them. Thank you so much. Bye.